What's up FFXIV and Jane gamers, this is Jaden for Team HJJ. Welcome to the channel where we cover all Final Fantasy XIV content quick and easy so you can get back to gaming. Alright, let's get at it. This is going to be a quick guide on the Cutter's Cry dungeon. In this video, we're going to cover 3 bosses you'll encounter in this dungeon and if necessary, noticeable trash and mechanics. The first boss of this dungeon is going to be Mermaid Princess. The boss will occasionally use Trap Jaw, a mild physical attack on the primary target. The boss is going to cast Mandible Bite, a frontal cone AoE, simply move out of the area to avoid the damage. The boss will also cast Silence, targeting a random player and silencing them for a short period of time. At about 50% of health, the boss is going to summon 3 different types of adds: Mermaid Marshal, Mermaid Guard, and Mermaid Soldiers. The party should be aware of the Mermaid Marshal add. This add has 2 abilities: Mermaid Bite, frontal cone AoE, and Formic Pheromones, casting a heal over time buff on the boss. Focus on these adds as fast as possible. Finally, the boss is going to cast Hail, increasing the attack speed of her adds. Focus on the adds that they spawn, and this should be an easy one. Next up is going to be Giant Tunnel Worm. The boss will use Sandstorm, an instant physical attack on the primary target. The boss will cast Sand Cyclone, targeting around the player and causing them damage and infecting them with a damage over time debuff. The boss will occasionally burrow underground and use Earthbreak, targeting around the player and charging towards them. Any player hit by this line or in the area where the boss surface is will take damage. Finally, the boss will once again burrow underground and cast Bottomless Desert, creating an underground whirlpool, pulling all players in. This attack does more damage the closer you are to the center. Keep your distance. Stay light on your feet and this boss shouldn't pose much of a problem. The final boss of this dungeon is going to be Chimera. This boss can be a nightmare for new players and has many mechanics, so try to keep up. The tank should pick the boss up and face him away from the rest of the party to avoid Lion Spread, a frontal cone fire AoE. The boss will occasionally use Ram Breath, an AoE cone on the right side of his body. Getting hit by this attack will cause ice damage and affect the player with a heavy debuff. The boss will also use Dragon Breath, an AoE cone on the left side of his body. Getting hit by this will cause lightning damage and affect the player with a paralysis debuff. At 75% of health, the boss will begin to cast Dragon's Breath and Ram's Voice, which players will have to read on the text that appears below their characters. When the Chimera's eyes glows violet, the boss will cast Dragon Voice, a donut AoE around the boss. All players should run in to avoid damage and a paralysis debuff. When the Chimera eyes glows blue, the boss will cast Ram's Voice, a point blank AoE. All players should run out to avoid damage and a heavy debuff. The boss will also cast Cacophony, targeting a random player and throwing a purple floating orb at them. All players will need to avoid the path of this orb. Coming in contact with this orb will cause it to explode, dealing damage and paralysis. Finally, the boss will cast Ram's Keeper, targeting a random player with another floating orb. The orb will float to the player and form a point blank AoE. Simply move out to the area to avoid the damage. After detonation, the orb will also leave a patch of ice on the floor that players need to avoid. This one can feel pretty overwhelming, but if the party keeps its cool and their eyes open, the boss should fall over in no time. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the comment section. Alright, now that you know what to do, queue up and go show them why you belong.